Well, welcome to everyone who has joined us. We are thrilled to have you here for our session on the Returning Scholars Program. We are really grateful for what will be an intimate group, and so we have a handful of slides we're going to go through. I have a handful of questions for the two people on both sides of me who are returning scholars enthusiasts and regulars. And then we will come for your questions and as much interactivity as possible. So let me start here. Hold on one second with. There we go. Now you should see my slides changing. We have a four-part agenda. We want to welcome you, give you a little bit of context on who we are, talk about the Returning Scholars Program at a high level, go through the specific timeline and details if you're interested, and then we'll come to Q&A. And so you see on the screen the four people that will be part of this info session. I'm Seth Green. I'm the dean here at the Graham School. I see this as a true jewel of our school because it allows individuals to come and audit anywhere in our university and to really take the classes that most excite them, and to do so with an intergenerational community because they are typically auditing classes where the primary audience is our undergraduate or graduate students. And so this is also coincidentally one of the oldest programs in the university. It has been through many iterations, but the idea of it dates all the way back to 1895 when we began correspondence classes so that we could allow individuals from even afar to take classes at the university, even beyond being degree seeking. And so with that, I will turn it over to my wonderful colleague who directs this program, Esther Pandian-Riske. Do you want to say who you are?
Hello, good morning. I'm Esther Pandian-Riske. I'm the director of the Returning Scholars Program, along with Graduate Student at Large and Graduate Student at Large Business. I am thrilled to welcome you all this afternoon, and we have two of our wonderful students here with us. So welcome, and I hope you will connect directly with me so we can talk about your goals and go through our course catalog and find you something that will be really edifying. Thank you. Back to you, Seth.
Well, and so can I turn it over now to the first of our two returning scholars, Mitch Covey. And Mitch just got back from Paris last night, so he's very kind. But can you just share a little bit about your background and what brought you to Returning Scholars?
My background, I am a native, longtime Chicagoan. However, I grew up in Austin on the west side. I didn't grow up in Hyde Park or the south side. I went to Highland Park High School, then I went to Washington University in St. Louis, and then I went for an MBA at Columbia University in New York. I was at Columbia during pretty much the height of the riots, and put me on a certain path, which I'm still on, I think, which is good. I feel is good. And then I went to work for a bank, and I hated it. I absolutely couldn't take it at all. And then after that, I went to work for the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, which is now HSA, because they spun off education. And I did that for 5 years. But my all-time goal was to be in the food business because I was always exposed to food. My mother and grandmother and aunt were great cooks and very used to going out to restaurants. And so I started in 1977 a gourmet food shop in Chicago, which really was the first of its type in the city. And we also did catering. Catering ultimately took over most of the business. And then in 2007, I think my chef came to me and said, Mitch, either you sell me the business or I'm going to quit. Well, I said, let's talk it over. His parents had been longtime friends of mine in high school and college, and after that. So we made a deal, and I said, there's only two conditions of my selling you the business. One is it's got to be all cash. And two, I don't work for you for 1 second after it changes hands. So that's fine. So that's what happened. And in the meantime, I had the UC head person, who was Hannah Gray, was a good customer of ours. I was friendly with her, and I called her up. I said, Hannah, I've always wanted to go back to school in some fashion. And she says, Mitch, you got to get into this program, Returning Scholars. So I did that, I think in 2008. And I was surprised that you have to use apply transcripts. So, oh my God, they're never going to get transcripts from 40 years ago. But they did. Washington U and Columbia both had transcripts. And I got in, and I don't think that was a particularly difficult thing to get in. And I started taking classes in 2008, and I've taken them consistently since then. And I believe I've taken 77
Yes,
classes.
yes,
Some of those have been at the Graham School
yes.
downtown. Those principally were music courses taught by one of my favorites, Ray.
Chachi.
John Gibbons or Ray
No,
Charles?
Ray Chachi.
Yeah.
Ray Chachi.
I think he retired. Anyway,
Yep.
Yeah.
and I've taken many courses down on campus. Have both undergraduate and graduate courses. In fact, most courses I would say I've taken have been a mixture.
Yeah.
That either graduate or undergraduates can get in. So I have my two major loves: food, which there aren't any food classes as far as I know, and second of all, movies. And so I've taken a lot of film classes.
Yep.
And I hear with some really phenomenal professors. Now, unfortunately, a lot of those guys have left or they were visiting, but they still have a strong film department. And the other thing, I've taken a lot of courses in political science. So I've taken 4 courses with John Mearsheimer, who is probably the most well-known political scientist in the university, and also with Robert Pape, who is now, I'm good friends with Robert Pape now, but he's all over the news.
Yeah, he is.
Constantly. He's
Yeah,
constantly
yeah.
doing stuff in. And I've taken 4 courses with him. Both those guys are great. Now, I would say both those guys, while I was taking classes, I wasn't sure what their politics are. Now I can, Bob is definitely a staunch Democrat. I'm not sure where Mearsheimer comes down. And the third political science person I took a lot of courses with Charles Lipson, who I've become very close friends with. And his politics are diametrically opposed to mine. But whatever, we're still good friends. That's the way it should be. You should be able to be friends with everybody. Or not everybody, but most people.
Well, that is a very UFC story.
Yeah.
I do believe that every professor should be there presenting both arguments, and you can be ambiguous on which one might be their point of view.
I
So
think
that's
that's
a perfect
true.
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
And you have picked 2 of our most prolific as well, especially after the Kirk assassination.
Yeah.
Pape's been in the news
Yeah.
as well of his research around political violence. And
Well,
then,
Pape was primarily known for terrorism,
Yes.
suicide bombers. He was the world's foremost expert on suicide bombers. But the number of suicide bombings has gone down, so you can't really make a career out
Yeah.
of doing that. So he went more in domestic.
Right.
Now he's
Yes.
domestic terrorism.
yeah. Well, and the 2 are related. If you
Yeah.
look at
Absolutely.
how that
Yeah,
happened.
absolutely.
Well, so we have another example
Yes.
here. So Ralph, can you tell your brief story of
Sure.
how you came to it?
I'm thinking of Monty Python's and now for something completely different. I am Ralph Stroll. I took my PhD in history of religions at the Divinity School in 1984, and my dissertation director was Wendy Doniger. I was one of those who never found an academic position. And so I ended up in academic fundraising, doing basically prospect research, which is to say I identify people who should be approached for money rather than approaching them myself. Or as my daughter liked to call me, I'm a professional stalker. But my last job was with an experimental fundraising unit for the Aga Khan University in North America, and they decided not to pursue that any further after 3 years, and I found myself approaching 67 and without a position, and thought, well, I'm in retirement land here, and so I decided to try that, and it suited me right down to the ground. But I was somewhat at loose ends from particularly from an intellectual standpoint. I had studied a great deal of Sanskrit as part of my PhD program and had touched it not at all for 30 years thereafter. So I thought, I put a lot of effort into it once upon a time. I'd like to get back into it. So I have, since the fall of 2019, been taking Sanskrit classes and sort of reading snippets of a smorgasbord of literature, of which there is a great deal in Sanskrit. I find I'm liking epic and high court poetry most of all. But the last class I actually took was in the winter quarter of 2024. And I stopped at that point because my second great love is baseball. And I was preparing a research paper to read at the Symposium on Baseball and American Culture at the Hall of Fame. And that I did in May of 2024. And then between travel and sickness and so forth, I just haven't gotten around to registering for more Sanskrit. And that's something that actually, after this session is over, I'm going to go down to the South Asia department and see what I can find out. But I'm also at a point where I'm reevaluating how I want to use the returning scholar program. Esther had forwarded to me the name of a history professor here whose interest is immigration and baseball. And that perked my ears up. So I am attempting to get in touch with him because my paper had to do with the use of the World Series just prior to World War I in the newspapers as a ritual of American inclusiveness and values, that by being involved with baseball, even if only as a fan, you come to know what it means to be an American. And that was a difficult question to answer at a time when, in a 25-year period, there have been 20 million immigrants from places like Southeastern Europe and the Russian Pale and Japan and so forth. So that question was very much open. And there were 3 Native Americans in the 1913 World Series, which is what I studied. There, of course, were no Black people in that series. And just to take a look at how it was held up as a ritual and evaluate how effective that was. That's my other thing. And I have no plans to try and publish that in Sanskrit, but I can pursue both of those passions through this program. And
Well,
that's what's cool.
Can I interject one thing? I took a course in baseball here with a guy named Briones.
Yes, that's the person
Yeah.
I'm going to be trying to
Yeah, he's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
It was a very good course. Mostly, I think it was all undergraduates, very few graduate students, but it was good. I mean, that's his specialty, his shtick is baseball.
Yeah, and the point is the storytelling that goes on and how the storytelling changes from decade to decade and what that might reflect about the country at the time.
Well, what I love about this opening is that it really gets into the heart of this program, which is it's for people that are deeply curious and want to follow that curiosity and find wherever it is that that curiosity meets the intellectual assets of the university. And so I'll go into a snapshot, but this is a very straightforward program. You audit courses anywhere in the university and become part of this very special place. And you do so with other students who share these characteristics that are deeply curious, that are rigorous, that are innovative and collaborative, and that really want to better understand a particular topic in the world that has often been a place of curiosity for them across their lives, and who want to be able to have their interests drive the coursework rather than just taking courses that might be curated by an existing set of instructors or faculty. The other thing that you heard is that you are unique in these classrooms because you are typically one of the only or one of a couple of adult learners. And so you often have a unique relationship with the students, but as well, many of our returning scholars find that they build very unique relationships with the faculty too, because many times the faculty see them as peers in the wisdom that they bring from lived experience, even if not in the exact area that they're learning about. And just to give you a sense of courses, these are just a handful of the ones that have been audited by our lifelong learners in the last year or so. And what this shows is that the university is a place with a vast array of different disciplines and ideas. And basically, if it's an idea in society, there probably is a course here that relates to it. And there's both the course catalog, which is the analog way of looking at this, and then there's Esther, who is her own walking course catalog. And for many people, they apply and then they work with Esther to figure out where would my curiosity about baseball, where would my curiosity about Sanskrit, where would my interest in political life, where would that meet what's coming up in the upcoming quarter. We also have Esther as a guide to, would this be a good course for me based on both the background, the faculty members, charisma and excitement,
Yep.
And their openness. So one thing that we really do emphasize is that this is a chance to take courses with the people that are often in the news and defining fields. And we are proud to have many of those scholars at a university that leads in the Nobel Prize category across all higher education. It is also a chance to have additional resources. So alongside taking the class, you have access to academic advising. And I realize that for many of you, you're not looking at that toward a degree, but actually I think it's even more valuable because what happens, I think, at the second adulthood is that you're really looking to learn for its own sake, and you're wanting someone to potentially curate for you outside of a formal skill or goal set. And so Esther and her colleague Marla are both incredible guides to the university and can really help you to think about how to put together a plan for the goal that you have uniquely. You do receive some other benefits in terms of just becoming a full member of the University of Chicago community that we don't currently have the ability to offer for students in non-credit courses. And this is because as part of the application, you'll notice it's a little bit more burdensome, but you then do get accepted as a member of the student body here formally. And so with that comes the UChicago email address, full library access, so to check out anything, as well as all the online privileges. You can be part of academic workshops across campus that are for students only. For example, you may have both, especially with your political interest, taken some of the seminars at the Institute of Politics or other opportunities. And then there are virtual and in-person events, which are available to Graham students, but this would include those on campus that are student only from a undergraduate or graduate school level. And so with that, I want to come back to our speakers and to Esther and maybe just ask you a little bit about the classroom experience. You are probably the most wise in some of your classes by years of experience.
Well,
How is it to be a student in this program and to be alongside, students that are coming at this material often with great acumen, but with less years under their belt?
I agree with that, but I think, when I started and I would go to class, it was 15 years ago, I was on the upper end of these kids' parents' age.
Right.
Now I'm like the grandparent. And so they treat me a little bit differently. So I think the first,
They like their grandparents more, I'm guessing?
the first couple of years, it's a little uncomfortable being with all these kids. What the hell is that guy doing here?
Right.
And but it's changed. I mean, the last couple of years, I've become friendly with some undergraduates. Right, one PhD person. We've gone out for dinner with her husband a number of times, and the other one, there was a course I took a year ago on political science course with this guy who left here, and he announced in class that he was going to Johns Hopkins.
Oh, Will Howell.
Will Howell.
He was a big loss for us.
Big loss.
Yeah.
And anyway, so this other woman in the class not author, the woman sitting next to me in class, and I went friendly. We said, I'm gonna make him, because I was to do this. I'm gonna make him a cake for the class. They loved it. Everything, it was a great class. And a major loss to the university.
Well, and a chance for you to continue your catering.
Right.
Experience. Well, and so Ralph, how is it for you to be in these classes?
Well,
alongside?
I had an easier entree. The very first Sanskrit class I sat in on, I was quite capable of being age-wise, the parent of anyone there, including the professor, who was an advanced PhD candidate and was teaching the second year
Sanskrit.
class. And I was one of four people, one of five, including the professor and the teaching assistant. I was the only male. I was the only US citizen. The teacher was from Israel. The other students were from Nepal and Italy, and the teaching assistant was originally from India. So it was a very small group that got to know each other and get comfortable with each other really quickly. And that and I explained why I was there, and that was okay, that's great. No question about that. I think I framed it in terms of just as when you fall off a bicycle, you want to get back on quickly. I have been off the Sanskrit bicycle for 30 years. I'd like to get back on, and they bought that. And that made fitting into any other class thereafter easy for me. And I was still older than just about everybody in the classes and I became a resource. This is what the USC was like in my day. And they, one professor in the divinity school retired, and people were saying, oh, he's a big loss at retiring. I went to his last lecture and I said, oh yeah, he was in my undergraduate class at Haverford College. And I just have fun messing with people's minds that way.
Well, and the beauty here, I think, too, is you're speaking of one other diversity point that I think is worth mentioning to the group that you can advise students on, which is that these classes are of vastly different sizes.
Yes.
And especially in the humanities, which is something that we're hoping to see more students enroll. But there are many classes that are incredibly intimate, and you can often predict those, and Esther can be a guide. And so if you wanted to, be in this seminar with 5 other students, it's often not impossible to find those classes, and it restricts exactly the areas that you might go into. And then there are also opportunities to be in larger seminars and lecture. And so that's another piece of great variance. And, depending on what your goals are intellectually, that's one more thing as you map out what you're trying to achieve. There's the issue that might interest you, there's the faculty member, then there's the size of seminar or lecture, and those 3 are often different places where you'll gather information as you help to advise people.
If you sit in on a Sanskrit class, it will always be intimate. This is probably the top Sanskrit program in the country, and has for a very long while. I've had 8 different people teach me Sanskrit in the course of my time in the returning scholar program. So it's got a great deal of currency, but it never has more, I think, maximum of 8 students, as far as I can tell.
I just want to comment on something you said, about you have large classes or small classes. I agree with small classes. I don't think I've ever had a class with
really large.
That large. Not with more than 100 people in it.
Right.
And those would break down into discussion groups. And what I did, those were with political science, like Mearsheimer.
Yeah.
I said, listen, because they would usually do one discussion group themselves and then graduate students the other. Said, can I sit in on yours?
Yeah.
I mean, they all said yes. And that was great, because then you're major professor, you got 10, 12 people in the class.
Yeah.
And the thing about UFC students is that these kids are prepared. They're smart and they are prepared. And they can a person you would think would have no idea what some subject matter is, they know it.
Yeah.
So I have to, as on a film course, I taken a whole bunch, and there was a course on Japanese anime. So I know nothing about Japanese anime. So I took this course, and my average course, let's say there's 20 people, there's, maybe half a dozen foreign students in it. This one, he had about 60 people, and they were basically all Asian. And everyone knew what anime was. So I was behind,
Right.
one of they saw, I still don't know what they're talking about. But I enjoyed the class, a good professor. And that's one of the things I took, like the second year I was taking courses, I took a course a seminar course in Soviet history with this Sheila Fitzpatrick,
Mhm.
well-known professor, who's retired. And there were about 12 people in the class, and I was in way over my head because I wanted to learn about Soviet history. They wanted to interpret Soviet history,
Right.
knowing, they knew what the history was. So it was different. But my all-time favorite course is something I didn't mention.
Okay.
I took a course in opera taught by Martha Nussbaum, who's probably the most renowned professor in the whole university.
Yeah.
And
But not necessarily for opera.
no,
So
but
that's what's fascinating.
yeah, and this was in the law school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had about 30 people in the law school, plus me,
Yeah.
and it was the last semester. So it was like third-year students who, they have a job, they have everything.
Yeah.
They want to take a light course. So they took this. It was great. She brought in major singers,
Yeah.
and she had co-taught it with the head of the Lyric Opera.
Wow.
Well, I became friendly with you.
Yeah. I feel like there's a joke embedded there about, why are all these lawyers screaming and, it's just their opera class. But, well, so I do want to come to you, Esther.
Yes.
These are two shining.
Absolutely.
Can you
Yes.
talk about, as you've seen so many students go through, how do you advise them on how to think about what the right fit might be for them in their learning journey?
So here's the interesting thing, right? Over the last 10 years, when I've been in this role, I've met students who have come in interested in all fields, all areas, right? So we've had students who are interested in astrophysics, students who have been interested in computer science and statistics, students who are interested in human rights and political science. And so it really does mean talking to the student to figure out, okay, so you're interested in this, let's look at all the courses, and then we'll figure out if you have the general prerequisite training, right, to be present in the class. So if you've absolutely not had any quant training and you're interested in this class in computer science, then it wouldn't make any sense, right? So it would mean in terms of content, what information, what prerequisite training do you have? Why are you interested in this? And then with my help, we reach out to the department and the actual faculty to make an introduction, right? So our students are introduced to the faculty. The faculty then can ask questions and connect with our student. And then they both agree and say, okay, this is a good class. And okay, I'm going to grant, permission for our student to be enrolled. Now, remember, the Returning Scholar Program is when our students are auditing a class.
Right.
So you're doing the reading, right? You're participating in all the conversations, but you're not doing the exams. You may want to do the papers if you'd like and turn it in, but it's not for a grade. So that's the understanding. So, and then the result is you get a transcript from the University of Chicago with the name of the class and a letter R for audit. So there is a lot of sort of communication between the instructor and the student to make sure that the instructor knows who the student is, why are you interested in my class. The professor can also share their, their course description. So all of that happens before the final decision is made.
Right. Well, I'm going to move us forward and then I want to come to Q&A. So I just want to quickly go through the timeline and details if you are interested in following in the footsteps of Mitch and Ralph and going deep into the life of the mind. Our next deadline is December 2nd, and that may seem like a decent ways away, given we're at the end of October, and that's to enter in the winter program. But it is not that far away when you look at all of the pieces that make up the application process. And one thing I want to emphasize is that this, given your auditing, is not about showing us that you are ready to be at the 4% level that is our acceptance rate at the undergraduate level and that you have a perfect SAT. Our aim is to make sure that you are ready to be a successful auditor of the class. And so that really starts with your statement of purpose. What are you seeking to achieve? And why are you eager at this stage to be in the life of the mind and to follow this intellectual journey? Your resume or CV gives us an understanding of your professional background. We really do take seriously the experience that you've had, because for many people, it's been 30 or 40 years since you've been in a formal classroom. And so this is the best indicator of readiness, even more so than what may have happened many decades ago. Your transcripts, which are available, it turns out, from even the institutions where they were not digitized when you went through. If you are an international student, which sometimes comes up, it's very important to us that you're able to be successful in the classroom. And so we do have a test just to make sure that your fluency is at a level that will allow you to effectively participate. There is an application fee. And then we have an interview, and that's with Esther or Marla. And the aim there is that we're really careful because we have the ability to run this program thanks to the generosity of our faculty who are willing to take another person who is non-traditional into their classrooms. And so we really want to understand how you would participate in the classroom, how you would aim to engage in the broader university so that, as you can see with Mitch and Ralph, we're really adding value through this program to the university, as well as hopefully giving you great value. It is $2,800 per course for returning scholars. And that is inclusive of all the different student value that you get in terms of the different resources on campus for the entire quarter. And then there is that application fee for processing your application. And with that, I am at the point at which we are going to take down the screen. And so let me do so. I know most people are off camera, but especially for those who may be on, you can raise your hand physically. You can also use the hand, if you look at the React button, you'll see there at the bottom of your screen that there's an ability to raise your hand. And then finally, you can put any questions you may have in the chat. I see a question already here. Are graduate seminars available to returning scholars? And so I'll put that to Esther.
Yes, yes. Graduate seminars are available for returning scholars. Again, we make the introduction and the professor will grant permission, but yes.
Other questions you may have? I have more questions, but I'll look to the screen to see if there are any from you before.
And just one quick update. Students may request to take a class in any division or professional school at the University of Chicago, except the medical school. And I think that's for good reason.
And I want to be clear, if you're interested in human health, there are a plethora of opportunities.
Yes.
Because those classes come through our biological sciences
Yes.
division. That is fully available.
Yes.
Just literally the courses where you
Yes.
are learning to become a doctor.
Yes.
Those are the courses that are
closed.
with prerequisites
Yes.
that are closed.
Yes.
We don't know that many people necessarily in our lifelong learning group that are looking to become doctors.
Yes. Yes.
Should you be, we can certainly talk with you about medical school options. Actually, more commonly is people that are finishing being doctors. All right, we have another question in the chat here. Is the entire course catalog open for auditors outside of the business school, or only certain professors allow auditors? It's a both and answer to that. You should look through the entire catalog.
Yes.
We then do need to reach out to the faculty member.
Yes.
I mean, Esther, how often would you say is it that faculty members say yes? It seems like the vast majority.
I would say the vast majority, in only slight cases when the class is really large. Let's say it's a computer science class or a stats class, then it would be really difficult because they really want to keep the class to a certain number. And for those classes, those would be closed and they will clearly explain to us and the student. But I would say most of the time, they grant permission.
So it's definitely a great idea for them to look through the full catalog,
Absolutely, yes.
see what they want.
Yes, and please, please connect with me. I'm here to help you, support you. Yeah.
Can I ask Mitch and Ralph, both of you, how have you seen this evolve over time? Because you've both been part of the program for some time. You know, how has your engagement with the program evolved in the sense that, you know, you're on a lifelong learning journey? I mean, you're both more than a decade into this journey. Has it evolved over time in terms of how you
I
approach
think
it?
so. When I started in the program, I was never able, still not really, to ascertain how many people are in the program. And I would have, on rare occasions, there would be someone else a second person in the class. That's happened maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
The administration, this was not viewed as any kind of priority in the university system. And so they would put a person in, like a grad student or something to run the program, and that person would leave after years. So it was a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, as long as I got the class that I wanted and I was able to take it, it didn't really bother me.
Right. And then Esther came.
Then Esther came, and Esther has improved things 500%, and now it's run very efficiently. And you know, there was an issue about getting approval from the professors to take a class. And now it's fairly clear, you need the approval. So you
Yep.
email Esther, says, Esther, I want to take this class, give me the approval, and she says approved. You know, she'll contact the professor. So Esther's doing a lot of the work that I used to do.
Yeah.
Not that I worked that hard, but it would.
Well, and the reason that's so valuable, just so everyone knows, is not just so we get you in the class. It's so that when you're in the class, the professor is excited for you
Yeah.
to be there and fully inclusive of you. So it's a double win for us to get the
Yes.
faculty member approval.
Yes.
It's because we want you to be 100% integrated into the class and for the faculty member to see you as a point of excitement.
Yes.
Any additions?
No, not really. The one thing I'd say with languages, a lot of languages are on the chopping block at a lot of universities. And so I think, you know, the way I look at my participation in Sanskrit is what I get out of it is a reminder of the possibilities and the limitations of my Sanskrit development. But what the university gets out of it is another person taking Sanskrit and paying money for it. And that helps any, you know, that could apply to any language. You know, we're a positive commodity, I
Yes.
guess is what it comes
Now,
down
let
to.
me, so as long, if the goal for the university, one of their goals is to make money off this program, which I think it is, then as long as we're not taking a full paying tuition person's seat in the
Yep.
room, you know, it's all gravy. It's $2,800 profit minus a little administration costs. So, I mean, it's a really good deal for the university.
That would-
Well, so let me ask actually on that note, a few questions to
Yes,
Esther that have come in the
yes,
chat.
yes,
And Marion,
yes.
will come to you.
Yes.
Are there financial aid or scholarships available?
No,
Not
there
in this
isn't.
program.
Not for this program. There are loans, some limited loans that we can connect you with the student financial aid office, and they can share it. But yeah,
We do have many other courses within the Graham School
Yeah.
that are at a lower cost and then that have
Yes.
full scholarship availability. So
Yes.
we do encourage you, Jerry, to look at the school as a whole. And if you look at our open catalog, we have much greater flexibility in
Yes,
terms of this
yes.
is an internal charge that we're working through. Terry has the question, if we pay the student at large fee for credit, can the class count towards the math, MATH degree if we apply and get it in a later date? That's a question for the GSAL.
Yes. For the GSAL program, yes. And when you mean MATH or MAPSS, the math?
We have MATH, but I was thinking that it sounds a lot like MAPS.
Yeah, if it's the Master of Arts program in the social sciences, that's the 1-year master's degree. No, only because there are only 9 courses for the 1-year master's degree. So no classes that you take through GSAL will be transferable, but it will really strengthen your application, right, when you do apply to a master's degree. So now we're talking about the graduate student at large program where you're taking courses for grades and for credits, which is the sister program to Returning Scholar.
And then final question, then we'll come to you, Marion.
Yep.
Does it include the study abroad program? I
No,
don't believe
no,
so.
not the study abroad. Yes.
Marion, we see your question, and let me let you unmute there. So you should be able to come off and ask your question. Great.
Am I unmuted?
You are. Yes, we hear you.
Hi. I just wanted to say, I was in the Returning Scholars Program in 2007, 8, and 9 in geology.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
I could be at your table and talk about the experience. It was totally positive. But it was at a very different, I think getting in was, I remember a man said, "Oh, you're a Vassar girl." And that was the end of the interview.
Oh, that was before me.
So, but it was, I just wanted to just say what a wonderful experience it was. I went on field trips. I celebrated my 65th birthday ordering beer on a field trip in Cincinnati. We went to Texas. We went to Nevada. It was such a wonderful thing. My interest now is in early music,
Yes.
and I looked at the courses, so I'm just wondering if I could segue into that.
Yes, you can. Yes, yes, you
Curious
can.
about also maybe what I play a recorder now, which is quite a change from the cello and
Yep.
I was doing at the time before. So that's really what I was here to talk about and maybe try to find out how I could find out more.
Absolutely. You can certainly, I will connect you with the music department and you can have those conversations with them. And as a returning scholar, you are more than welcome to take the courses that would work best for you.
Right.
And that is one other benefit, Marion, that we should speak to, that once people have applied
Yep.
and they're in the program,
They're always in
right,
the
you can come
program.
back.
Yes, you
So
can come
it is
back.
a
Yes.
blessing that, this can be something that you reappear in
Yes.
every few years
Yes.
as there's a class or an
Yes.
interest that you have. It is not something where you have to be in continuously
Yes.
in order to.
Completely flexible. Yeah. So once you're in, you're always in.
Right. Thank you. That's very reassuring.
Please keep in touch, Marion.
Yes,
If
no,
I may
I
add
will
to
be.
this, Marion, based on what you've just said, you've pretty much secured a seat at this table.
Yes.
It's a wonderful table to observe and be part of by Zoom. Thank you. That's
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't see any other questions, and we're coming up to time soon. Maybe I'll just close with a final question for our two panelists here. Tell me one of your favorite moments in this program, whether it was a particular actual moment of exchange with another student or the professor or a learning you took away. What's your memorable
One
takeaway?
story, I took a class, there's a mother, a wife, husband, faculty members here, the Consons.
Oh,
And I took
Kathleen
this
and
course
Michael.
in
Yeah.
basically Chicago
Yeah.
and Chicago area.
Yeah.
And there was a field trip. We down to
Yeah.
Lockport, to see the locks on which I'd never done that, literally my whole life, never done it. And we go down there and it was like a Saturday afternoon. And it's like in this time of year, it's getting
A little cold.
a little dark and I'm walking back to the bus that took us and the back engine compartment door was open. I said, uh-oh, I think there's a problem here. And there was a problem. The bus was broken down. And so we didn't know, we were out in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing around us. And the professor Conson and my son Michael Conson and I basically, managed these kids. And ultimately we had a concert, I had an opera that night and I had to get back. And I figured out a way of getting to the train station and I took a train in and I barely made the opera. But the kids came back the next, I said, what's gonna happen? What happened? And they got back reasonably well. They found a bar.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was
great story.
And so it was happy, even though transport didn't work. And so, Ralph, your final thought?
It comes out of my first class, the one with the Israeli teacher and the Italian. To two brief stories. One is at the end of the class, and we'd gotten to know each other rather well, actually. And my wife says, "Why don't we have them over for dinner?" And so I said, "I don't know. Do they really want to come all the way out to Oak Park?" But Mina insisted, so I said, if it can be arranged, my wife would like to cook a South Indian dinner for you. And one of them was about to leave town and postponed a day. They all came out to the house, and we had a wonderful time.
Lovely.
The other one was back to baseball. I'm a Washington baseball fan since the mid-50s. So I've been through a lot of losing seasons.
Hartman Killed.
Yes, and in 2019, the Washington team went to the World Series for the first time since 1933. And I go into class one day, and they are one win away from winning the National League Championship against the Cardinals. And I walk in and say, "I know this doesn't matter to you, but it's so exciting because if Washington wins tonight, they go to the World Series for the first time." And one person looks, well, I think the Nepalese lady looked up and said, So what sport is this? And then the professor got on, and I was talking about the extraordinary number of nicknames that ball players get. And there was a player who was referred to as death to flying things, because in the days before gloves, he was especially adept at catching balls out. And she said, "Okay, your extra credit task is to render death to flying things into a Sanskrit compound." So classes can be that fun.
Well, who said this is the place where fun comes to die? Place
It's
where
not true anymore. I mean,
learning,
if you walk
learning
around
thrives.
the campus.
No,
and
it's
see
joyful.
Yeah, the kids are having a good time. Yes,
Yeah.
kids, how do they like UFC? Well, I love it. It's almost uniform.
Yes.
I would like to point out one other thing, and that is be aware of what's going on around campus around the time of your classes. I had been through a Tuesday, Thursday class where on Tuesdays, class ended a half an hour before tea and pipes in Rockefeller Chapel, where you can walk over, make yourself a cup of tea, go sit down and have a 40-minute organ concert. And on Monday I had a Wednesday class, and on Mondays, the organist prize graduate student was working through an incredible amount of Bach literature in Bond Chapel. And so I would go from class over to Bond Chapel and get a 40-minute performance of Bach. And it was just a nice add-on. But I don't know that those add-ons are there for every class, but keep an eye out if you do this.
I will say thank you as we finish here. I think that this is exactly why we have the programs. We love having members of our community across all ages and stages. We love that you can learn in the area that you're passionate about across life. And we love that people come here to be part of the life of the mind, even beyond their classes, so that they can take in the fullness of this rich university. So we hope that we may see you in the Returning Scholars Program. Esther will follow up. For now, thank you for joining us today. And Marion counted an invitation for the next of these.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dean Green.
Thank you all.